following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. Welcome into the MSP North Podcast with your hosts Brady McAtamney and Blaine Keller, covering high school sports all across Montgomery and Robertson counties. Now we take you to the north, your host Brady and Blaine.
Ooh, some new intro music. Looks sounding good today. Blaine, well, welcome everybody to the MSP North Podcast. It is the second week of May, and that means tournament time is in full swing. We're going to be talking all about it. But Blaine, why don't we kick things off by welcoming in our first guest today?
Absolutely. Fresh off sending a couple of track and field athletes from Greenbrier to the sectional round, we welcome in Greenbrier track and field coach Troy Bigsbee. Coach Bigsbee, thanks for joining us today. How are we?
Good. How y'all doing?
Doing great. Yeah, let's start off with some of the people that you have sent. Your team is sent on to the next round of the postseason, moving one step closer to spring fling and the state tournament. A lot of football athletes, a couple of girls basketball players too, Nolan Carson, Travarius Flood, Peyton Hardaway, Junior Edwards, Paxton Manis, all moving on. Coach, I mean, as an assistant with the football program and head coach of the track and field team, how exciting is it to have a couple of those guys that are athletes on your squad moving on to that next round?
Oh, it's really good. I mean, it makes me look good at the same time. But, I mean, they're hard workers. And like I said, they love it. They do it. Everything they do is with passion. So they love to compete. So they take it, I mean, the same way they compete in football, they bring it also to the track and field. So I love it.
Yeah, being an assistant with the football team, are you able to get more football guys into track or more track guys into football?
Well, I get more football players into track because when I played in college, football coach made everybody do double sports. So if you didn't do anything other than I ended up playing baseball, but he made everybody else do track. So I tried my best to instill it the same way here, that way they stay active.
And in your mind, Coach, when we read off that list, and I don't want to forget Rylan Freeman too, a girls basketball player that has made it onto the sectional round. Which one of those athletes, if any, that you've kind of had the time to spend and mentor, with this season, which one stuck out the most?
Please say that one more time, please.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have a couple of guys and even girls, on the girls basketball team and the football team that have moved on to the sectional round, in your mind, is there one that sticks out the most, Coach?
I can't forget Paxton Manis. I mean, he since they moved to the new division this year, because last year we were just large and small schools. Now we have 3 different divisions. He was basically the youngest in the state last year, going against all the power schools from 6A. So he's really standing out as probably one of the favorites to be top in the state this year. With the new division, and also with my football players. I mean, Nolan Carson, Travarius Flood. I mean, what they're doing on the track is amazing.
Yeah, no. Going from the track to the classroom, I've learned that Blaine Keller here was actually one of your students back in the day at Springfield High School. I'm wondering if you have any stories of high school Blaine in the classroom, and if not, just how good of a student was he? I know his writers were more words guys than numbers guys, and you are a math teacher, so I'm wondering how he did in your class.
Well, Mr. Blaine was one of the tops. I mean, I had regular algebra, and there was no way he should have been in there. So we ended up moving him out probably halfway to the advanced class. I mean, he was easily one of the top students in math.
Well, I appreciate that. And, quite honestly, we were joking before this. I didn't even remember what math class it was when someone asked me. So, thank you for that, Coach Bigsbee. But when you go, I guess, and this is something that comes to my mind when we talk about coaching and teaching at Springfield for a little while and then moving on to Greenbrier, the rival school in the county. Was there any difference in that? Was there any transition in that, in the couple of years that you did that a while ago?
Not really. My thing is I always try to relate to the kids or, be like a role model. And that, I still do that. So it really wasn't a big change at all.
And, I know Brady talked a little bit about stories, and I think while you may not have many stories about me as a student, I think you're going to have a lot of stories about this one. During your time as a collegiate athlete at Lane College, it's no secret that one of your teammates there was NFL return man, legendary NFL return man, Jacoby Jones. Spent a long time with the Baltimore Ravens. And what stories do you have about that time? What was Jacoby Jones like as a teammate and even, as a college student?
Well, when I met Jacoby, when he came in basically as an 18, 19-year-old, I was like I would say I was pretty experienced compared to Jacoby at the time. So we really wasn't allowed to go against Jacoby at the time, being like he came in probably like a good 150. But at the same time, he was a track star from out of Louisiana. So we knew he had a speed, but being physical and a little bit older, like he wasn't there yet as he was like once you saw him in the NFL. But he was like really, you can tell that he was going to be special just from his kick return and punt return game.
And I know you just mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show that your college coach had you guys play track or play another sport along with football. Did Jacoby run track at Lane as well? Yes, he did. Jacoby, he ran track and he also played basketball. So he's like when after football season, he split with basketball and track. You hear about three sport athletes. He was a high school All-American. Yes, wow. You talk about three sport high school athletes. You don't really hear about three sport college athletes, but I guess when you've got an NFL guy like that, Jacoby Jones is going to be the guy to do that. Well, Coach, as you move on this weekend into the sectionals, we wish you the best of luck with Greenbrier track and field and hoping to see a couple of the guys in Murfreesboro. Thank you for your time, Coach. Thank you. That was Greenbrier track and field coach Troy Bigsbee. Lots of great stories there. I think Jacoby Jones is the most interesting thing. No offense to Coach Bigsby's math class, of course, it was 6 years ago. But, the thing I remembered the most about that was the fact that he played alongside Jacoby Jones. You don't have many math teachers that do that. Yeah, playing alongside an NFL return man guy who, I remember plenty of his absolutely insane return. He's up there with, the Devin Hesters, Cordero Pattersons in my memories with incredible return men. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will visit with West Creek Volleyball and currently track and field coach Josh Stoekl.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, three-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best-looking girl, Bananarama, so the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Nobody covers high school sports quite like Main Street Preps, bringing you hyper-local coverage of the teams you care about. Wherever your Main Street is, well, we've got a podcast just for you. How about this one, the Sumner County Sports Podcast with Zach Womble, or Casey's Take on Sports with Dixon Post and Cheatham County Exchange sports reporter Casey Patrick. The MSP North Podcast with the fellows from way up north, Brady McAtemney and Blaine Keller, covering Montgomery and Robertson counties. The Main Street Preps this week with Russell Vannozzi and Tyler Palmatier with a macro view of prep sports in Middle Tennessee. Find the latest prep sports news from your Main Street at mainstreetpreps.com, and find these podcasts dropping weekly on these Main Street Media social platforms and wherever you get your podcast. Now, back up north we go. Here's Brady and Blaine.
Ooh, talk about funky music. Love it. But we're back. We have a second track and field coach for today. But this guy is more than just a track and field coach. He's also a teacher at West Creek. He's the volleyball coach at West Creek. And he's also the biggest Buffalo Bills fan that I know. Welcome into the MSP North Podcast, Josh Stoekl. Josh, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, it is our pleasure. So, West Creek won the Boys District Track Championship this year, but that's really nothing new for the West Creek track team, is it? Tell us a little bit about this history of winning that comes with being part of the West Creek Track and Field program.
Yeah, since we had the inception of the track meet, the boys track program has swept all the Montgomery County. On the male side, we've won it every single year since we've started it. The only year we didn't win it one year, and that's because we got invited to a special meet that was out of state. We got an invitation to an invite-only track meet. But yeah, it's become it's a standard. We call it the West Creek standard. That is the expectation that when you're part of the West Creek track team, especially on the boys' side, you understand that that is what you're living up to. That the goal of the season is not only to be Montgomery County champions, to be regional champions, and to be competitive at the sectional level and hopefully at the state level.
Coach, how do you build something like that? I mean, whenever you think about some of the spring sports, I think it's a little easier whenever you have more team-oriented sports, maybe like softball, baseball, even soccer, or even maybe some of the smaller ones like tennis. But track and field feels a little more individual. Whenever you set a tradition and a standard like that, how have you as a coach kind of established that?
I think it starts with, selling the kids what the vision that you have is. Track is a rare sport where you can be an individual, but then you can also be part of a team. But the other thing that's, kind of like wrestling, but what sets us apart from wrestling is we have 16 different events. If you don't want to run, you can jump. If you don't want to jump or run, you can throw or you can vault. So we can find something for everyone. So it's getting the kids engaged, teaching them the sport and what it entails, and then building that mindset that it's not just you representing yourself, you're representing the school, and we're doing this for a greater good. Yeah,
and you recently sent us the list of regional qualifiers, or sectional qualifiers rather. But I figure it would probably be better for you to tell us about them rather than me listing them off and telling you what they do, because, well, you are their coach after all. Tell us about some of those sectional qualifiers.
Okay, so on the girls' side, we got Ariana Whitcliffe. She's qualified in the 100-meter hurdles. She's a senior. She's going to Bluefield State to compete for them. She's a really determined girl. And she's one of those kids that really just does it right. Is a pleasure to coach. And you got Desiree Castaneda, a discus thrower. She's a first-year track athlete, as a matter of fact, and she qualified. She's fourth. She won the regional, the subsectional meet, and if all things go right, she should qualify state. And she's a first-year thrower for us. And then you got the girls 4x1 and 4x2 relays. We're really excited about those, but especially about the future of the girls 4x1 relay, because they're 3 freshmen and a sophomore that qualified. And then on the guys' side, you got all 4 relays qualified. 4x8, 4x1, 4x2, and 4x4. And then Lavelle Finch, who's a first full year track guy. His first year of track got actually cut short by the pandemic, right? So this is his first year. He qualified in the 300 hurdles. And then we've got our 1-2 punch in the 200 meters, Jaden Wiley and Bashan Jackson. You know, they're part of our 4x1, 4x2 relay, and we're looking for hopefully both them qualify for state, and then Jaden Wiley also in the 100-meter dash.
Well, Coach, when you list off such a long list there, you know, such a lengthy group of guys and girls that are competing at the next level of the sectional and hopefully to state, what are you hoping to see in that next round outside of maybe having some players and some athletes qualify for the state tournament?
Well, I think right now with all coaches, the number one thing we worry about is first of all, heat acclimation, right? We have went from 65 to 80 to 86, 89 real fast, you know. So keeping them injury-free this weekend, getting them to qualify and keeping them injury-free is the big thing, because we just got to finish top four, right? Top four takes us to the state, and then, you know, you never know, but you got to get there. You got to have a seat at the table in order to eat. So we have to get to that goal. And so it's getting everyone prepared mentally, getting them prepared physically, making sure they're hydrated, because Friday night it's going to be hot and it's going to be very fast, and the turnaround in the events is going to be quick. So we got to make sure that we're not only mentally ready, but we're physically ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep that water flowing. One thing about West Creek is that, you know, it's kind of different from other schools, whereas other schools will, you know, talk to their football players or basketball players saying, you know, you should go run track, you know, that'll be good for you. You have more at West Creek, you've got coaches from those other sports coming to you as a track coach saying, hey, do you think this guy could play for my team? Who are some guys on your track team right now, or girls, you know, looking at soccer or basketball season, that will be playing for, you know, Coach Gallowitz, Coach Smith, Coach Malone in the next school year for other sports?
Right. So with regards to football, you got Montel Richardson. He sprints for us. Octavius Mahogany is a hurdler, jumper, and part of that 4x1 relay that qualified. Terrell Jennings is a 4x4 100-meter relay guy. You got Liddell Wade on the football team. He throws for us. And I'm trying to – there's obviously a lot more than just that, but especially with the younger guys with our sophomore class. But those are some of the top guys there. With regards to the girls, you got Ari Denson. She's the goalie for the soccer team. You got Jess Garfield, who is a 3-sport athlete. She plays volleyball. She medaled at state, right, for Coach Carbon, and then she's out in a 4x1 relay. You got Madison Bennett, who is, you know, I scored over 20 goals, scored over 20 goals. I know she scored a lot of goals for the soccer team. And so, you know, and we had from the basketball team, we had Jason Timothy throwing for us this year. And, you know, I know he's a senior, but, you know, you have to, we should, and I'm a big fan of encouraging each other's athletes to go out and do the other sport. I saw something the other day where just with the NFL drafts, 23 of the first round draft picks in this year's NFL draft were track and field athletes as well as football players.
Yeah, absolutely. That is, I mean, that harmonious relationship between track and field and football, of course, with many other sports is really an awesome thing. And it's really cool that you're able to be a part of that for these young men and women. But Josh, thank you so much for joining us today. It was awesome to be able to catch up with you and talk some track and field, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, and go Bills.
There you go. Bills Mafia, right?
I think I've seen his Twitter before, but it's just listed under Josh. So I never understood who this Josh Bills fan was tweeting at you all the time for. But thank you. You've now connected the dots, at least for one of your viewers, me, to figure out who this is on your platform.
That's right. That is Josh Buffalo. He's got a little Bill, I believe, in his Twitter name. But yeah, volleyball and track and field coach at West Creek. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, one thing, game of the week, performance of the week. Stick around.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
I gotta say, all credit in the world to JP Plant here for the incredible change of soundtrack. I mean, no offense to what happened a couple weeks ago. I mean, the soundtrack's been great, but it's just been elevated up to another level here on the MSP North Podcast.
Oh, it's elite, JP, man. I mean, power to you. You're choosing all the bops this week. But great music aside, I'm sure I'm sure our lovely voices are music to your ears as well. So we're gonna keep using them. Let's get into our one thing segment for this week. Blaine, you want to start us off?
Absolutely. Let's start with a hot postseason start. I don't have the results from the third game here, but we can go ahead and start with Heritage Baseball's first two games in the district tournament against Sycamore and last night's game against Fairview, I believe. I believe it was Fairview, but in the first game, Heritage outscores Sycamore 10-0 in the first inning, Brady. One inning to go up 10-0, and it wasn't much better. I mean, Sycamore scored 5 runs in that game, and then Heritage run rules Fairview last night. That's Tuesday. So in 2 games, they've outscored their district competition 24-5. I mean, they're setting up themselves in a really good spot going into this region tournament, getting hot at the right time. Justin Smith, Ty Lopez, Cooper King, Johnny Mooney, just a really strong senior class that's helping them get hot at the right time and getting ready to face some really tough competition. You got Loretto and Summertown. I believe Summertown's out of that region now. They lost in their district tournament, but Loretto nonetheless, it's a tough out.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping it on the baseball field, just after 11 p.m. Central Time, of course, on Tuesday, the Rossview Hawks became district champions, technically the first District 13 4A champions, so that's pretty cool with the new 4A classification. They last won a district in 2019. Parker Holman joked with me, first time in 3 years makes it sound like it was a drought, but, it's really only been one baseball season, but obviously a huge accomplishment for them. They've beaten CHS 5 times this year now after Clarksville beat them, I believe, 4 times last season. So they're absolutely thrilled to be able to do that, get that district championship, and get a home game for next week, Monday, against Dixon County.
Well, you gotta love those long Rossview-Clarksville games. I mean, that was the second one this year, You said before we started the show here, you were pretty drained after that second game last night.
Yeah. Of course, we're recording this on Wednesday, and yeah, I was finally able to go to bed on, I guess Wednesday morning at 1:30 after getting back. Some unexpected traffic on I-24 kept me out late. It was a night, that's for sure.
Well, let's go from one team season continuing and another team season ending. White House Soccer saw their season come to a close in the District 9 2A semifinal against White House Heritage. Such an an overtime game there between 2 rivals. And I believe the only, the go-ahead goal was scored with 3 minutes remaining. But White House, a tough season this year after, making the district championship last year. They played some really tough teams this year. They played CPA. They played Valor, who Russell Venozzi, our Nashville reporter, did a great story on them a couple weeks back. They played a really hard schedule. They played Rossview, too, out in Montgomery County. So, really tough schedule, but ultimately it comes to a close against a team that's also really red hot in White House Heritage.
Absolutely. Another team whose season has ended, but, kind of on a higher note than they expected, Kenwood Baseball. So, we haven't talked much about them this year, and that's because they just, they haven't provided as many talking points. They're just kind of on a different schedule, not literally, but figuratively, of course, as the teams like Rossview, Clarksville Academy. But they were able to get their first win over a 4A team in the season in the district tournament. So very cool for them. They were able to beat Northwest by a run and keep their season going a little bit longer. So very cool for Kenwood. Hopefully that can give those returning guys a little bit of momentum going into next season. Showing that they can beat these higher class teams.
So they were winless in the regular season and then picked up their first district win in the postseason. Is that right?
So they had a couple. They were winless in the district. They had a couple wins, but over small teams like I believe they beat Houston County twice, a 1A school. They beat Hume-Fogg once. Hume-Fogg. I'm honestly not totally sure. And they beat Fort Campbell twice, where Fort Campbell, as far as it comes to team sports, it's hard for them to get much going because there's a lot of high turnover there, being a military base. So those were their only wins, if I remember correctly. But yeah, being able to beat Northwest, very cool for Kenwood and those kids.
That's definitely a big time win for that program as they try to continue their rebuild and kind of build from the ground up there. Brady, let's move to our performance of the week. I'll go last night's game, Tuesday night. Greenbrier pitcher Dalton Wilbur, sophomore, 5 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 1 earned run against the top team in Class 3A, according to the Tennessee Baseball Coaches Association poll. So great. Just not the best of starts for Greenbrier in regards to that game. Jacob Conquest struggled a little bit on the mound, but Wilbur kind of came in around the 4th inning and took control of that one. He struggled with a little command, but, really just limited Portland, as you can see there, 1 earned run. So great outing by the sophomore, and it moved Greenbrier to the district championship game.
Yeah, my performance of the week is going to be a two-parter. DJ Merriweather for Clarksville Academy. They played Franklin Road Academy twice in this past week. The first time they played him, he threw a 1-run, 7-inning complete game, struck out 12 players. The second time they played him, he hit 2 home runs as the first baseman in that game. So Franklin Road Academy coaches and players, they're going to be seeing Derek DJ Merriweather in their nightmares.
That guy, even whenever it's helping you out freelancing last year for Main Street Clarksville, you could tell that guy was pretty special. Either way, whether it was throwing a no-hitter and then hitting a go-ahead home run, DJ Merriweather got it done. Games of the week.
Games of the week. I'm gonna go with Rossview versus Northeast Soccer. This is gonna be part 3. So last year they played in the district championship. Northeast won that game. In 2019, of course, 2020, that was the COVID-shortened year. But in 2019, they played in the district championship. Rossview won that one. So this is kind of the tiebreaker, if you will, as far as district championships go. Should be a really good game. They played earlier this year. Rossview won that game. But, anything can happen in the postseason.
Absolutely. And let's keep it a little flavorful with Robertson and Montgomery as we close out our show here. My game of the week, Wednesday night's 9-3A championship between Greenbrier and the winner of Portland and Montgomery Central. Todd Dunn's going to pitch, or he's going to coach a good game. Portland, we just talked about, number 1 team in the TBCA poll for Class 3A. Greenbrier is undefeated in 9-3A. Something has to give. It'll be a fun way to end that tournament, and I think it should be a pretty fun next week whenever these teams face off against whoever comes out of District 10 3A.
Absolutely. It will be a good time indeed. And speaking of a good time, I think we had another fun episode this week. A lot of track and field talk, a lot of postseason talk. We're going to come back to you again next week with even more postseason talk as things get really down to the nitty-gritty. But until then, thank you for joining us this week, and we will talk to you later.
This has been the MSP North Podcast with your hosts Brady McAtamney and Blaine Keller, covering Robertson and Montgomery counties. Follow them on Twitter, always at Main Street Preps. Brady at Brady_MSP and Blaine at sports_BK, and always online at mainstreetpreps.com. The MSP North Podcast is a Main Street media production.